when we talk about customer journey mapping, first thing that we need to understand is what is the context for it. What is the importance of customer journey mapping and why do we do that? Because first of all, let's understand one thing, that everything that we do as a product or a service, whether it's digital, whether it's physical, it has to do with users, right? And to begin with, what I wanted to keep everybody in their mind is there is a hierarchy of needs that every user has, and this hasn't changed in last many years or decades, I would say, because as a user, these are the needs that they have, and it's very important for us, whoever is designing, whoever is actually providing a service or a product, to keep that in mind. So first and foremost need is that everything that we do for the user has to be functional. Okay, the second thing is it has to be usable. So if it's functional, it has to be usable. So first thing that you need to keep in mind that whatever you do, whatever you design for the users, whether it's a product or a service, it has to be functional. It has to work every time for the job it is supposed to do. The second thing is, if it's functional, then make it usable. And the last part is make it enjoyable, make it fun for users, make it relevant for them. Now, when you take care of these needs, what happens is you actually create or you create that response and evoke those emotions from your users. So the first is, when it's functional, it has to be on time, in full, and every time, right? So what the user's reaction would be, it works, I can trust this service or this product or a brand, right? This is the emotion, or this is the reaction that you would get from your user. The second thing is, when it's usable, it has to be of minimal complexity and personalized to what the users are doing or what users are actually requiring from that particular service or product. So it has, it had just 2-3 steps, or it was so simple. This is the emotional response that you would actually get from your users. And when it's enjoyable, then you create desire, then you create advocacy, because till then, if it's functional, yeah, it is supposed to do that, right? It's not doing anything extra that what I wanted it to do. So it is, if it's supposed to solve a certain need or solve a particular task that the user has in his mind, so it is doing that. So advocacy comes when I feel great about it, and now I will share it, and I will share that experience with my friends, my colleagues, my people around me, or on social media. So this is the hierarchy of needs. Now, the need has, or this hierarchy has been there all across, right? But the market focus has moved from over last few years. So what they are saying is, a Gartner study recently showed by 2024, and I think it's already there, customer experience will overtake price and product as the key brand differentiator. So people do not mind paying extra, paying more, if the overall experience is what is going to enhance his life. So by 2024, I think it's already there, but by 2024, customer experience will overtake price and product or features as the key differentiator. And you have seen that, we have seen that shifting market focus already. It started, pre-industrial revolution era, where everything was about products. If you have a product, you were the king. You could make something, you were the king. Then it became about brand loyalty. Everything was, people started focusing on brand. Let's create a brand that people will engage with. Let's create a brand that people can have loyalty towards. Then it moved towards customer service has to be everything. And now it is towards experience. So if you look at, even if you look at mobile phones, before, people would buy mobile phones or handsets based on the features. Oh, it has this camera, it has this feature, you are able to play this game, or it has these many different features, the sizes. Now almost everything is standard. The experience is what differentiates it. Soon it's going to be about humanity, it's going to be about environment, it's going to be about being green, it's going to be about a brand that actually does and cares about humanity. And in this whole gamut of things, we hear a lot of buzzwords, and you get to, one of the reasons that we have these confusions or doubts in our mind is because we hear a lot of different words. We hear service design, UCD, user-centered design, HCI, experience design, design thinking, digital design. There are so many different words that we keep hearing. So how do we actually make sense of it? So let's start by busting few myths. Okay, the first myth that people have is creativity is artistry, because many people think that for you to be creative, you have to be artistic. You are able to draw. You are able to paint and so on. So you are not a creative person. That's why I asked how many people are creative from creative field or they consider themselves creative. Now let's take the piece of paper that you have in front of you, because we as humans don't need to be artistic to be creative, right? So let's take the first activity that we have. It's a creative warm-up that we all will do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you few words and you're going to draw whatever comes to your mind in next 5 seconds. After every word, I'll give you 5 to 10 seconds, okay? And you need to draw whatever comes to your mind. Baby. Done? Door. House. And the last one is innovation. Done? Okay, how many of your, when I said baby, how many of you drew a cute little face with two hair or maybe a heart? Okay. Okay. How many of you drew a triangular roof for a house and a, okay, almost all of you, okay. How many of you drew, when I said innovations, a bulb? Right? So we as human beings have something called a visual shorthand, right? You don't need to be creative to convey your ideas. You don't need to draw well to convey your ideas. So we just with a simple exercise, we just said that we are able to communicate our ideas, we are able to communicate whatever we have in our mind, so we can be creative. Now as we go along, we have few more activities that we will be doing, and you will see what I mean by you don't need to be artistic or you don't need to draw things to be creative in this field. The second myth that all of us have, or a lot of us have, is user's journey equals to my website, app or store. We always think that whenever we talk about user journey, customer journey, it starts when they visit my website, it starts when they install my app, or it starts when they enter my premises. No. And that is one of the biggest myths that we see with brands, with organizations, with startups. You don't actually look at customer journey or user just when they interact with you, because their journey has already started. What does it mean? So let's look at an example. Let's say this is a website of an airline, okay? The journey of the user has started way before it, when he started thinking about traveling, when he started thinking or searching about flights, right? And it doesn't end when he finishes booking his flight. It continues till he checks in, till he reaches the airport, within the inside the flight, and also when he is finished his journey, the overall experience that he is left with. So the customer journey, when we think about customer journey, it's important to talk about when the customer interacts with your product or service, but also before that and after that. Then you are able to set the context for their use of your product. The next myth, and I have seen this personally with a lot of product owners, is I know my customers, my product is very descriptive and it's very easy to use. I have seen my customers, I know them, if I can use it, everybody can use it. Now what we are going to do in this next activity is, I'm going to give you a set of instructions and all of you are going to follow the same instructions, okay? Imagine if there is a product and you give them, some tips to use a product, how each user interprets it, okay? Now you had that piece of paper, take the same piece of paper in your hand, you don't need a pencil now, you just take the same piece of paper, close your eyes, okay? I'm going to give you instructions now, all of you please close your eyes and just hold that piece of paper in your hand. First thing I want you to do is fold that piece of paper in half without opening your eyes. Okay, now hold it in your hand and tear away left top corner, tear away left top corner of that folded paper. Fold it in half, tear away left top corner, okay? Again fold it in half. The big piece of paper. Now this time I want you to tear bottom right corner. Done? One more fold in half. Now this might be a little difficult, but now try and tear away the bottom left corner. Bottom left corner. Done? Now you can open your eyes and open that piece of paper. Yeah, open the piece of paper and just hold it. Let's see how many, you followed all same instructions. Let's see how many of them are same. Where is the tear? Okay. See, each one of you has a different sculpture made with the same set of instructions. Even if you would have kept your eyes open, nothing would have changed except that I didn't want you to see what the other person is doing, right? So if you see, having the same set of instructions, same piece of paper, still doesn't give you the same result. So the users, we saying that I know my users and this is how they use our product or this is how they use my product is a very big myth. Unless you are actually go and see the context, because what was the context here? Each one of you folded the paper in a different way, right? Each one of you, when I said bottom right corner, for you, how you hold the paper is also completely different, right? So typically what happens is, without understanding the users, we try and go, we decide to go and solve a problem which we think user is having. And this is where the user journey mapping or customer journey mapping comes handy. There is a famous quote that is attributed to Albert Einstein. It said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes in framing the problem and 5 minutes in actually solving about it or thinking to solve about it. So if you see, typically as a human mindset or human nature, we try and jump to solutions. We try and design products without understanding what and where The context is going to be for the user when they are actually using this product. And there are various tools for it. It's not, journey mapping is just one of the tools, right? So there are various tools for it, and these tools are applicable for experience strategy or service design, digital product, or overall design thinking. So for both of these, understanding the ecosystem. Now when I say understanding the ecosystem, understanding the user's ecosystem is the key. And the user's typical journey would look like need, seek, choose, give, get, whatever the transaction is, use, fix the problem that he has, either love it or leave it, right? So this is a typical anatomy of any customer's journey. Now obviously there would be various different stages depending on the product, depending on the industry, depending on the category, and depending on the user that you have. But this is an overall anatomy of any user's journey. Now what is the actual definition of customer journey mapping? A customer journey map are the diagrams that visualize a timeline of persons or groups' needs, actions, thoughts and feelings to unearth opportunities. Now from now onwards till the end of the workshop, this is all we are going to focus on. We are going to dissect this definition, go step by step and understand the meaning of each of these lines. So what is the first line? Diagrams that visualizes a timeline, right? And if you look at this particular line, there are various formats, and I saw that couple of or three of you or four of you have already done customer journey mapping. You must have used various different formats, from this to this, a more complex one to a simple one, right? So there are so many templates available. If you go online and check, there are so many templates available, and all of them would look completely different. What we don't understand is there is actually a science to it. There is a format and there is a logic on why and how you use it. So what is needed? Context. To create this diagram, you need a context, understand the big picture of and isolate the true needs of the customers or the user, right? You need to have a lot of empathy, because that is the key. And not just empathy within a person or a team member, the empathy should be there across all the team members, across the organization, and alignment. Now let's look at different types of journey maps. Does anybody know what are the different types of journey maps that are there? So when you say customer journey map, one diagram comes in front of us, right? But there are so many nuances within that, and we need to understand what are these different types and when to use each one of them, because you cannot just create a customer journey map or a user journey map just because, and I'm with all due respect to all of us together, to look cool or to say now I'm designing things. No, you need to understand what is the difference between different journey maps. So let's look at different types of journey maps. There is something called a current state journey map. Okay, be careful about the words, current state journey map. So current state journey map may look like this. If you're going to Starbucks, somebody buys, anticipates, I'm driving towards work, or I'm in the office, enters, line, order, pay, sit, drink, work, pack up, walk out, go to the car, right? So it's not just when you enter the Starbucks outlet. So this could be your current state journey map or experience map. Now there is something called future state journey map or experience map, and we'll go into details of why and where to use each one of them. But there is something called future state journey map. Now what is a future state journey map? Future state journey map is something that you envision for your customers with the hypothetical scenarios that your product or your service is going to do this to them. So that's when you create a future state or ideal state journey map. Now there could be two types in it. This is the experience map with what is called front of house. When you create a journey map or an experience map, there are things that the user interacts with and the user is able to see, and there are things that happen behind the scene which the user is not aware of. That is called a blueprint, right? So when you have a journey map or experience map, there could be future state, there could be current state. Another variation is it could be not just a journey map but a blueprint. Now what is the difference between journey map or experience map and a blueprint? So blueprint also has back of house. This is called the line of visibility, which means, for example, if I go to Starbucks and if I place my order or tell my order to the barista standing next to me, whatever happens is front of office, because this is what I can see. When that barista takes the order, then what she or he does with that order is the back of office. As a user, I'm not bothered about it. I don't care if they use what technology. I don't care if she goes and makes it herself or she goes and whispers in somebody's ear. That is not users' concern. Most users, this is about 94 to 95% of the users, don't care what happens behind the line of visibility. Users are only worried, or users are only concerned and have empathy towards the brand for everything that happens before the line of visibility or above the line of visibility, because for the user, experience is their key or their outcome. How you fix your back of house, how efficient it is, or how efficient, or if it's not efficient, it's your problem as a brand or an organization. So this is why the blueprint is used to understand how we can improve things at the back of house. Okay, so as I said, journey blueprints may come in two flavors. Current state. So what is the current state? It represents the organization and infrastructure that supports the experience today. So you may have a CRM when the lead comes in. You may have when somebody interacts with your product or submits a request or requests for a service, you may have an infrastructure that actually supports the entire back office function, whether it's technology, whether it's manpower, whether it's the workflow, whether it's different departments. Whenever you create a current state journey blueprint, not just a journey map, journey blueprint, you are actually talking about whatever you have today and used to identify and fix root causes of the customer pain. Now, unless you understand both above the line of visibility and behind the line of visibility, you will not know where the problem is. So that's why blueprint, typically current state blueprint, is to understand where the problem areas are today, and that is understood because you've done a blueprint where it also shows the lead came in and it went to an email and then nobody looked at that email, for example, right? Or a request from the app, whether it's a, let's say, a maintenance app that you're working on, or any other product that you have. Request, the interaction of the customer happens or user has interacted with it. After that, whatever happens is your below or behind the line of visibility. You are able to fix the efficiencies within your departments, within your technology and all that by understanding the blueprint. Now, the future state journey blueprint represents what is your vision for your product or your service or as a brand that you might have, and are used to plan and prioritize long-term projects. So when you have that blueprint, you might decide, I need to change my for example, CRM, I need to change my technology, I need to change my platform, because that is where the pain point is. And when you are doing a future state blueprint, you are able to visualize this and put together your vision and prioritize it based on that. Fourth, which is typically what is done most of the time, is day in the life kind of a journey. So day in the life kind of a journey starts from morning, I get up and your customer, and this is typically when we see, when I see and when I do guest lectures also in universities, I see that students or academics typically start when you say journey map, my customer gets up in the morning, has a coffee, does this, goes here, reads this newspaper. but what many a times we capture things that are irrelevant and not usable for your actual design or actual problem solving. A lot of the stuff that you capture is not usable or it's not relevant to your product or service. Now, you might see this as a contradiction when I said the journey starts before the product is used and after the product is used, but you need to start with the relevant context and not capture things that are not relevant to you. Now, the next part of the definition is, so we saw how different diagrams are, right? There are 4 different ways that you can have a journey map. It could be experience map or a blueprint, current state or future state, or just day in life. Now, these 4 are used, as I said, when you have certain tasks, and we'll go into more details later on, but of a person or a group. Typically, we hear these words: my primary user segment or my primary target audience is this, or you might hear from your marketeers or product owners, my average user does this. Or we also hear, and we have been hearing this in the market, everybody is a user. Okay, who is your target audience? Everybody. My product is targeted at everybody. But that is a very wrong way of looking at your target audience. You cannot say my primary segment is this, my average user is this, and everybody is my user. This peeler or this particular grip, does anybody know what is this? It's called a OXO peeler, and they have a patent in this grip. How did it come about? There is a nice story behind this. Peeler, potato skin peeler, or yeah. So this particular grip that you see has a story behind it, and it's also patented. You will not find this kind of grip everywhere. It's called OXO peeler or OXO grip. Why is it so important to show here? Is because the CEO of this company, when he was actually trying to make a better grip, because many times when they did the user research or market research at that time, many times they found out the problem is it slips, or it's not easy to hold. And while he was at home, his wife had arthritis. So while he was actually doing different product testing with his wife, he found out the people with arthritis need this kind of grip with some texture, with bigger, bolder handle. And then he took that and he used it for everybody. So the purpose of this, or the point is, when you look at your average user or your primary segment or everybody is a user, you are actually not looking at users that mean users or the set of users actually that would give you insights that may change the entire product. And this particular grip has become a legend in this market. So they OXO peeler and OXO company, they use this grip in a lot of their products. So the point is, when you talk about your persona, when you talk about your users, never ever have these words in your vocabulary: average user or primary. Yes, you can have primary, but you cannot just focus on your primary, or everybody is a user. So the point is, focus on extremes. Another thing is, when you create user journeys, when you create these customer journeys, you cannot create one. You cannot create just my primary segments or my primary users journey is this. No, you need to create multiple journeys to be able to find nuances and insights from that. So focus on extremes, focus on non-users. Many times non-users may give you insights that are actually going to be valuable for your users. Focus on individuals, and that's where you must have heard user stories and all that. Focus on individuals. That way you are able to get a unique perspective from that, and focus on many. Don't just create a persona, because that is going to be very biased, that is going to be very limited when it comes to understanding insights. When you create insights or when you create these journey maps, focus on many. There might be similarities, there might be very few variations in that, but Still, that is the key, because that is going to help us in the next part of the definition. Needs, actions, thoughts, and the most important thing, thoughts and feelings. How do you get that? With empathy. They say you need to think like your user, right? Many times you cannot just think like a user unless you have empathy and you actually go and talk to the users. So empathy is putting yourself in their shoes, but without judgment. Many times I have seen marketeers or product owners saying that, there are some stupid users, they don't know how to use this product. It's so simple. No. So there's no judgment that you should have as a user or as a product owner. Another big thing is to unlearn and have a beginner's eye. Many times when you have, or when you are close to your product, you have a certain visibility, you have a certain mindset, you have a certain understanding within your, or cognitive ability to understand that product, to understand that journey. However, when you actually talk about personas, when you talk about users, you need to have ability to unlearn and start with the beginner's eye. And the biggest thing is curiosity. That actually brings us to the next, and sorry, the last point is respect for users. That brings us to the next activity that we are going to have. What are we going to do? Person sitting next to you, I think for you, maybe if you move here or just talk to each other, person sitting next to you, pairs, you need to design a better wallet. You decide who is going to design, who is going to think. You've got first 5 minutes to understand the needs. So you guys, you both, so you have, pairs there. What you're going to do is design a better wallet for the person sitting next to you. Okay. The first 5 minutes you're going to do is to understand the needs. What is the need? First starts with that. Okay. So you can talk to him and understand his need for a better wallet. Okay, and start understanding the needs for now, and then I'll tell you when to design the wallet. Yes. Physical wallet, e-wallet, whatever. Understand the needs. Don't jump to the solution. Yeah, no, understand the needs first. Understand why and how she needs it. Yeah, understand the need. Are you guys participating? Remember, you are designing a wallet, but by understanding the needs first. Hello. Good. How are you? Okay. So he's designing a wallet for you. Okay. Okay. No, but you need to first understand somebody's need, whoever that is, whether it's him or whether it's you, or whether it's both you together. Understand the need first. What we do is we have two. क्या ले?
ठीक है.
Thank you.
Not bad.
Yeah.
For, probably 25, 30 people online also.
हाँ.
They would like.
Here for a while or no?
9th तक यहाँ going to Bombay on the 10th. 11th को मेरी
हाँ.
board है वहाँ.
हाँ,
ना
okay.
अगर दंगे फसाद नहीं हो जाते हैं तो अभी आप
Yeah.
शिवसेना में जो तारे गुंडागिरी करी हुई है, there's a
Yeah.
very good chance कि it may not end well.
Maybe actually from 8 till 12th I am in Bombay also.
धीरे जा रहा हूँ पर वो as I said खुदा जाने.
Correct.
और क्या हाल चाल है? All is good?
All is good. All is good. When are you free? When do I bring the? Huh?
Is it- that's
Yeah.
this coming week?
Yeah. Yeah. Who has already finished designing? Has anybody finished designing?
Take us a very long time.
Oh my God. Do you need a production team?
Overthinking, so we really
And one SIM card here. SIM card as well, yeah. We need SIM card. Let's say 2 SIM cards.
Okay, now you can start designing.
It's only one side, right?
Yeah. One of you can, design for somebody, for the other person.
He has many requirements. That's
Oh my God. Very difficult customer.
This is imaginary wallet, so
Yeah,
why not
of
to
course.
imagine it?
Finished?
Got a few features.
Huh?
Got a few features that we can do.
Okay. Few more minutes. Done? Okay, now you can design. You can start doing the design. Yeah? Done? Okay.
This topic, I have a question. I wanted to ask, I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem.
Spoke about how you should think of multiple customer journeys for products. From my background, I'm talking about digital.
Right?
What about products that they are in their MVP stage? They're not like fully mature. Do you think that we have to think about multiple customer journeys?
No, if you already have a MVP, the best thing is to do testing. Get real users. So they say that 5 users can tell you 85% of the problems you might have. Right? So get with actual users. And you can create these customer journeys by having the user involved in. Because typically what happens is when you do customer journeys, it's hypothesis. You think on like, oh, this is how they will do it, this is where it will. But if you get the users involved, A, you are able to do your user testing, and B, you are able to prepare a customer journey based on actual user, not just thinking. That's what you do.
just to add on, I'm also working on the corporate side. We actually develop for that thing. So I usually go and speak to the team that is actually working on the software, and I sit with them. But I have no clue how this goes on a retail level. Like Instagram apps and all. Like, how do you do it when you have a bigger piece? For me, I usually know the team. If I go, I sit with them. They know me. For 1 week I keep going, seeing how they work. I give them suggestions and I get feedback from them. But my audience are less.
Right.
What if we have a bigger audience?
So even if you have a bigger audience, that's why what you should do is then you define your personas, right? Then you find users that are matching that persona. So let's say the persona is, I'll give you an example. You work with RTA. One persona is somebody who is an, let's say, Asian expat, and he drives his car only on weekends. Now this is a unique persona. It's not anybody who drives the car. No. In that, for RTA, we had to define 9 different personas in drivers
For the same category.
for the same category. So somebody, because we are in a region where culture and or backgrounds also matter. I'll give you another example, and then I'll come to your solution. We were working with Deliveroo. So Deliveroo had taken the same app that they had in UK for drivers. Forget the users. Customer app was different. For drivers, they had an app. Now they were having issues that drivers were not able to reach on time. They were missing the turns and instructions. Why? When we did the user research with actual drivers, we found out that these drivers come from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, from these countries, most of them. Their education levels are not very high. Their cultural background is different.
To localize.
Exactly. So what you call a roundabout is different in these countries. It's called a circle. Then certain icons, they could not understand certain icons because they have never seen those kind of things in their life. So those small things made a huge difference. In your case, you need to define these personas, then have at least 5 to 6 users per persona, go and talk to them. So even if you have 5 to 6 users, that's good enough for you to give you a lot of insights. But not just one general persona. You need to define these multiple personas, whether it's 8, whether it's 2, whether it's 4. You need to define that. Yeah, I will talk. All done? Everybody is done? Okay. Now, I'm assuming that all of you have designed a better wallet for the person sitting next to you. Oh, very good. Can you define that wallet? Yeah, can you explain what you did, what was his needs, and how did you address those needs? Okay.
Send reminders. She also has sections for the cars as well as an NFC switcher to switch between the cars without using the phone.
Okay, nice. Next. Fine.
It should be live. Can handle the cars, 9 cars. The leather don't last. Colorful without the corners. Can have the cash compartment and the cars. Easy to take out cars. The RFID and the ID should be visible at all time.
Okay. What about you? Mm-hmm.
Something that is software related, where it can help you spend analysis and things like that get
Okay.
since everything can be stored electronically. NFC access or building access.
Okay. What about you? The fundamental error that we all do as human beings is we don't give enough time in needs, right? Can you tell me what is her need? To reach, huh? Ladder, okay. What else? Research, huh? To learn. Access to information. What else? A library which has less height, okay. See, typically what happens is when we talk about needs, as I had mentioned, we typically jump to solutions, right? A ladder, stool, bionic arm, all that are solutions. First and foremost thing for us, even in the exercise that we did, is to understand the need. Need is not, I mean, just to give you example, need is not RFID. That is not a need. And typically when we sit with our users, when we do these kind of exercises to understand our users' needs, that is the trap that we always fall in. From all this, in this, there was few needs, like to reach, to access information, accessibility, right? So needs, first and foremost, how do we actually define the difference or understand the difference between the need and the solution? Because our mind tends to jump to solutions, whether it's RFID, whether it's zip, whether it's detachable, whether it's small, whether it's big, all these are not needs. These are all solutions that we or our mind jump to, and this is what we need. This is where the biggest challenge of any designer, when I say designer, I'm not talking about people who can draw, okay. Again, biggest challenge for a designer is to determine and differentiate between the need and stopping his mind from jumping to solutions. And this is very important again when you are doing customer journey mapping. I have come up with a small formula for you to understand what is the need and what is the solution. First and foremost, it's a very simple thing. When you want to talk about needs, please understand around 98% of the time your need should be a verb, not a noun. If you find that the need that you are trying to understand comes as a noun, go back, knock yourself and say, no, this may not be a need, I'm jumping to a solution. So need typically starts with a verb. To reach is a need, right? To have, to differentiate between two different needs when you are going out for a business meeting or a run is a need. Whether it's detachable to thing, that's a solution we typically jump to, So when you understand the needs of the person, make sure and tell yourself that if I am capturing a need, please let me make sure that it starts with a noun, starts with a verb. If you see that it's a noun, oh no, ask yourself, is this really a need or it's a solution that I'm jumping to? Big, small, or RFID, digital wallet, whatever we call it, whatever we just design, I would say a lot of it, 80-90% of what we did now was solution. Yes, we had to reach the solution, but the step that we typically skip, and that's where the journey mapping and everything comes into picture, is understanding the needs of the customer. You saw that quote that Albert Einstein had, to form a problem statement, right? To form a problem, How do you form a problem if you jump to the solution? We cannot form a problem if you jump to the solution. So for us to understand the need, it has to be a verb and not a noun. It has to be an opportunity, not a solution. So if you have these things in mind, that you know that it's an opportunity, then and not a solution. So if you follow these rules or these guidelines in a way, you are able to create better, you're able to actually document and define needs for your customers. So this is the key. Yeah, the example of the same Wallace is to carry cash, right? Typically, and I'll come to how you reach there. So to carry cash, or to avoid theft, to have a so if the user is saying that for me the problem has been this, or for me to do this or do that, to something is your need. So you had some of the needs already mentioned, but typically what happens is when we talk about it, even as a user, they jump to the solution. I want a smaller wallet. No. Why? What is the need? Need is that I have less space. Exactly, to put in my, exactly. So that is a need. The why, so when you get in, how to get insights? Now typically when you do these exercises, what is it that you're trying to achieve? You're trying to achieve insight. I got an insight from the user, right? So unless and until you find the insight, you're not able to solve or create a, have a problem and solve it. So why responses to needs is your insight. So when if somebody says that I want to have 2 wallets or to have multiple wallets, why? Then you will be able to find an insight that is actually going to give you a solution, right? So typically, and they say that if you ask somebody why enough times, you can make that person cry, because it goes into emotional, slowly you are going into the emotional psyche of the user. So why do you want to carry coins, for example? If somebody's need is to carry coins, why do you want to carry coins? Because of this. And why that happens? So if you keep going and peel these layers slowly by asking these why questions, you are able to find insights. And again, insights are opportunities and not solutions. Typically, many times also it happens that people say that I found an insight about my customer, he wants a smaller wallet. Again, that's not an insight, right? Why he wants to carry or he has a problem carrying a bigger wallet, right? To have a smaller wallet, or to have less wallet that occupies less space. Why? Because I wear tight jeans, for example, right? So then you find insights. So these two things is the most critical part of any problem solving exercise that you're doing, whether it's you're doing journey mapping or whether you are doing just user interviews, trying to create empathy. Verbs, not nouns, opportunities and not solutions. And same why responses. So ask why. If somebody, if a person sitting next to you says, I want to, I don't carry any cash. Why? Right. So that's how you get to insights. Any questions? No. Okay. I wanted to do a group exercise to actually create a journey map. We'll form maybe 3 groups. Okay. We'll form 3 groups. Now, how do we form groups? Let's take sequential number 1. Say 1.
3, 9, 12, 13.
All of you remember your numbers, right? So each group is going to have 7 people, okay? Or maybe let's make 4 groups because it's going to be less people, so you can interact more. So all of you, so there are 20 people. We are going to have 5 people in each group. Okay. Now, what I did is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So number 1 and number 6 and what is the next one? 11. What is the next one? 16. They are going to be in the same group. Okay. So number 1, number 6, number 11, number 16, and that's it. We are going to have 4 groups, right? So those people are going to be in one group. Number 2. Next is what? 7. Next is what? 12. 17 are going to be in one group. Okay. Similarly, number 3, then 8, then 13 and 18 are going to be in one group. Now what you need to do is need to move around, and each one of you get a fresh piece of paper. Each group you can get a fresh piece of paper. So we had the third group. Let's look at the last group, number 5. Yeah, there are going to be 4 groups. So number 4, yes, 9, then okay, yeah, so that's going to be another group. 4 groups, and just sit on one table, all that each group. 4, 9, 14 and 19. How many groups do we have? So when we have the groups, then I will show you the next slide.
5 times 5.
Yeah, 5, 10, 15.
Can I be sitting for us?
Yeah, you can sit anywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are going to have 5 groups, right? Or 4 groups? Okay, done. Yeah, you're missing 2 people. I think is it in your group? 20. Yeah. Each group we have 4 people, right? 4 people. Great.
My bit.
What is your number?
18.
18. So you should be with 13,
3. Number 3.
3, 8,
8. Okay.
3, 8, 13 and 18.
Okay.
3, 8, where is 3, 8? 3, 8, there. So there are 3 people there, correct. Okay, now for us to create, we are going to create a journey map. Now as a group, you decide. I have certain examples for you to look at. Okay, but as a group, you can decide not to take anything from here. So it can be, this is the product and this is your persona. This is the product, this is your persona. You can pick anything from here. It can be a salon for a pregnant woman, or a laundry service app for a person on a wheelchair. It can be anything. Or you can come up with your own, or you can decide to do on your own. Also decide if you are going to have you saw 4 types. Decide if you are going to have an experience map, blueprint, current state, future state. Current state I don't think we will be able to have because we don't have the actual thing. So it's going to be future state. Okay, so future state, experience map or a blueprint, you decide. Any questions? You can mix and match, or you can come up with your own. Hmm? So, okay, everybody, okay, yeah. So, excuse me. Okay, can we first listen to some instructions? Just few instructions. First thing you need to decide whether you are going to do, you cannot do a current state because you don't know the state, right? So you are going to do a future state, whether you decide an journey map or experience map or a blueprint, you decide that. Then you decide which of these 4 products or services you want to pick and which of these 4 personas you want to pick. Only one, or you can come up with your own, okay, but this is just for your example that it could be a sandwich drive-through for a person on a wheelchair. This is just for you to have some ideas. You can create your own. What I want to know is, first decide what you're going to create, either just an experience map or a blueprint, okay. The second thing you need to decide is the persona and the service, and then I will give you, once you decide with that, this is a basic template to follow, okay. Clear? Another tip is designate, and if you go back, sorry, designate one person from the group to be that person or that persona, so others can ask that person questions like what would you do, or things like that. So role play is going to happen. One of you can play that role. You can pick one person who will play the role of your persona so that you are able to ask questions to that person. Okay?
What is a blueprint?
So persona is what you see there. Blueprint is, difference between the experience map and the blueprint is, in the blueprint or not in 5 but for TCOM. No, you cannot. No, and I'll tell you multiple options. My team, depending on who that person is, but typically we use either Miro or Figma. In this particular case, the team member was more comfortable with Illustrator, so he used Illustrator. So it depends on the team member, but typically Miro or Figma. So you see here the stages: onboarding, lead capture, onboarding, unit selection, and so on, right? So these are the steps that you take. Now this is a different template. In this template, it's a blueprint, and it's called a actor blueprint. Now why is it called the actor blueprint? Is because the blueprint or the journey moves between different actors and stakeholders. You will see here, digital experience is one part, which is just the journey, and then how it moves from TCOM to DCCA to somebody else at the bottom here, yeah, supporting technology and automation. So it goes through different parts. What I wanted you guys to create now, and I'll show you that, is this one. You can see this is the persona, discover, dream, plan. They broke it down in more, and then you can see the touch points, influences, what they were doing. So first part is the doing. Let me see if I can zoom in more. See, explore and compare, book flights and hotels, book add-ons, plan and prepare, then share and review. So it goes into post travel as well. So this is for one persona. There is another persona, I think, here. What are the? So verticals, you see doing, which is the steps, okay. Needs or thinking is again emotional and objectives together. Now that's why I said in the beginning of the workshop, you must have seen there are so many different templates available. So what I showed you was the basic anatomy of the template. What you call each of them, what you capture will change from objective, service and all that. But however, what you are capturing is doing, so obviously that is steps. Then you have needs and thinking, which is objectives that we had in our template, and emotional state, because what they are thinking. And then you have touch points, like how their touch points are happening, which is digital, non-digital. And influencers, so again you have feelings here, you have influencers, and once you finish that, then you have the challenges and pain points. So this whole exercise was done over a period of, this particular journey was about 1.5 weeks, because we actually sat down with that person 3 days, 2 hours each, to understand how he goes through this whole process. I'll show you even more complicated one. This is done for Ministry of Human Resources as an employer. See how detailed it can get. This was about 2 weeks. 2 people. For me, it's been 24 years.
Give us 20 minutes.
Because, but the objective was not to get the final journey. Objective was to get into the mindset of how to do it, right? Asking the right question and documenting right things. Now,
24 plus 2.
Yeah. So there's the current one that we are working on, that I am working on currently is, let me see if I have it. Yeah, here. Presentation, yes, but not these examples. The one that I showed you just now. So this is done in Figma. You can see this is for Dubai World Trade Center. Now here you will see again the same example of different stakeholders and how a particular document or thing moves from one to another. So inquiry comes in from the website or the phone or the email. The lead comes in, goes where? It goes to the call center. Then the call center calls the person, gets the additional information, and the lead qualification happens. From there it goes to who? The sales team. The sales team. Sales team takes the lead with all the information assigned to the lead representative. Then what happens? Then it goes back to the customer. So this is the organizer or the customer. Then they have to prepare a business plan. By email it goes to them, template goes to them, it comes back, sends it back to the sales team. Then the sales team will do the pre-qualification, go to the business plan. It goes to, you'll see where it's going. Keep them informed. Who? The CEO and the board of directors. If it's approved, then it goes to, you can see, follow this line. If it approved, then it goes to the sales team again. So he can create this in the CRM.
How do you contact CEO? CRM?
Here, email. Via email. Right. So now from here we are getting to understand, okay, maybe the CRM can facilitate this. Maybe instead of email, the customer should have a dashboard where, because right now everything is by email to the customer. So right now we have captured the as is. This is the as is journey. Before that, there is another exercise. I do another workshop for this. It's called the stakeholder mapping. Because for every organization, there are various, in any journey, there are various stakeholders involved, right? There is, for example, let's say in the laundry app, there is the guy, call center guy, there is the CEO, the founder. So how do they actually map onto the stakeholder mapping? So why it's important is because you see there is high influence and importance. So influence and importance. Typically what happens, every activity, every journey, so this is one journey that we saw, one service for exhibition, has different stakeholders. For some stakeholders it is very important, but they do not have any influence on the journey. So that's why if you see who are the most influential and important is the sales team and the organizer, which is the customer. What is the least importance and least influence? Legal team, marketing team, they have absolutely no say, they are only monitoring it. Who do you keep informed? CEO, finance team, keep informed. So that's how you will get to know who, yeah, go ahead. When would the client realize? So when he gets this one, so let's start with the need, right? When does the client thinks, because when they see a problem. Now what could be the problem? In this case, what was the problem? The problem was their lead to actual contract signing was having a lot of time taken, and they were missing out on certain events that they could organize, but because we didn't close it, they went with somebody else, for example, right? So that was the problem. Another problem was employees were complaining that, oh, the CRM is too, the system that we have is too difficult to use. It's not like I have to do so many things and all that. What are the problem on the customer end? I don't know what's happening with my lead. I submitted the lead. So when that happened, the CIO or the technology team identified we need to fix this. How do we fix it? Let's get a new CRM? No. we told them, no, instead of getting a new CRM, first let's understand if the problem is the system, problem is the process, or problem is the people. So first, yeah, go ahead. It costs Al Musafir. So 1.5 week was what's one journey. For that, the team was in, this was in Saudi. So the team was in Saudi for almost about 4 weeks because we need to meet with their agents and everything. The total project was about 2.5 months. After that, they had to change certain systems. They had to change certain process because they were informing customers in a haphazard way. There was no consistency. Sometimes they would call, sometimes they would send in email, sometimes they will just WhatsApp. So that effectiveness was brought in to that. The one that you saw in the leasing process, it was for T-Com, which was for Media City, Internet City, all their free zones. That was a 1.5 year long project. Right? So after 1.5 year, what we had is we understood how somebody should open a new business. So I don't know how many of you have opened businesses in these free zones. Before 2021, there used to be something called provisional approval. So when we understood the entire customer journey, we went back and said, you don't need a provisional approval, because in the customer's journey, that step is not required. Customer doesn't, for me, I'm opening a new business, I need my license. Whether it's provisional, how is it going to help me, right? So these are the kind of things that come out of that. Yes, that's why it took 1.5 years.
Blueprint to share with the employees, or how?
No, so we found out that the problem is with the employees also. A lot of employees had this fear that if I verify all the leads, it's going to be a problem. So we removed the employee interaction. Leads were verified automatically.
So this structure you create, yeah? Don't share this, create the structure.
Yes. Let me now come back to the presentation. 1 second. Where is my 1.5 year? It costs anywhere between 50,000 to the biggest one was T-Com. It was 1.5 million, because 1.5 year, 5 resources were working on it continuously, right? Okay, so what we created just now is a hypothesis journey map. It's by no means is the final one with a very good structure and with all the information that that went into it. Part of it is certainly correct. What we did, part of it is certainly correct. The objective was to actually do an exercise to see how this exercise or that activity goes. But other parts are wrong and incomplete, right? Now, test the assumptions with customers. So this, whatever examples that I showed you, all those are either done with the customers. Here we just, somebody played the role. When you play a role, you may not be true to that, what the person might be thinking or objectives and all that, right? So you actually test with the customers. You ask them to look at the journey maps, verify those journey maps with them to be able to. So again, if you go back to the hypothesis statement or the problem statement that we initially started with, like, spend 55 minutes in forming a problem and then 5 minutes to solve it. So we believe that the idea is, the app will solve these problems or these actions and resulting in so and so action from the customer. So this is how you form a problem statement. Now problem statement is formed based on your customer journeys. You look at all the aspects, you look at the objectives they had, the needs or the steps that they are taking, the touch points that they have, and then you form a problem statement. Now again, if your product is already in MVP, you have already done so much work, that time you don't do this. You do this when you are actually discussing and defining what the product ideas are, or you have a product where you want to improve it, then you do this. That is called the user stories, right? So user stories could be multiple. For your product, your problem or hypothesis statement is one singular. That is your vision, right? In that vision, there could be multiple user stories, depending on the persona, depending on the stage, depending on the product he or she are buying. So this is a overall problem statement for your product or a service. Now, this is what I wanted to. How do you make use of journey maps? Because even if you are creating one, what do you do out of it? So current state journey map. We all remember current state journey map, not the blueprint. Current state journey map helps identify pain points and prioritize fixes. It also identifies opportunities for feedback or measurement. So when you have a current state journey map, you understand the feedback loop, or you understand how do you actually measure your service. You're looking at the as is current state journey map, you are able to identify, okay, my journey map, if you see the emotional state is all happy, I'm able to measure my service and say, okay, everything is fine. Or you are able to identify opportunities, like this is where the frustration of the user is. How do I fix it? Now current state blueprint, what it gives you, it also gives you the root cause of the customer's pain, because in the journey map you don't get to see the behind the line of visibility. You don't get to understand what is happening in the background with that particular request. Yes, the customer is not happy after he submits the request and he has to wait for the approval to come, for example, right? But you don't know why the time is taken. So here, because if you have a blueprint, you are able to figure out, oh, because currently my workflow is I get a request and then I have to call somebody and then I have to send this request to that person, and that person gets back to the customer, or he checks with the availability of the product or a service, if the driver is available, all those. So then you are able to pinpoint the root cause of it. Future state journey map is good when you are designing an improved experience. So you may have a current state journey map, okay, like what you saw in the example that I showed you for the Dubai World Trade Center. We did that current state. This is how it is. Then you do a future state to design the improved experience, which is the ideal state scenario. Plan the rollout of the future product or a service. Based on this, you are able to decide from the future state, this is where we are, this is the current journey, this is the ideal journey. What is the difference? Oh, I need to invest in a new technology, I need to improve my product, I need to buy 4 few more bikes for my delivery to happen faster, and so on. Because in the future state, you are saying the product will reach the customer in 30 minutes, for example. Then you are able to identify your rollout. To your point, it also gives you employees and customers comfortable with the new or changing experience, mainly the employees, because many times what happens is when you have a future state journey map and you see that the employee or this particular team has to work faster, this particular team has to do things differently now, but when you say that to the team without seeing the customer journey map, they don't understand the impact of it. Many times many different departments don't know how what they are doing is impacting the customer. When you have a customer journey map, it helps everybody to understand, oh, my one delay in this is actually causing this to our customers. So day in the life also gives you innovation opportunities. Like if you are doing the day in the life of somebody who is a person who doesn't want to cook and all that, it gives you opportunity, like maybe a food barter product, those kind of things that might come up.
Just to go back, when you said the employee should know. Usually these companies set up a meeting with everyone,
Yes.
tell them about the journey.
Yes. Each stakeholder, like for example in the Dubai World Trade Center, each stakeholder, representative from marketing, representative from legal, is sitting there understanding the overall customer journey, because as a departments typically they are like this. I don't know where the legal team request comes to me. I have my contracts and all that to take care of. This particular request, I'll look at it later. But when they look at the whole picture, like, oh, because of this, my customer is not happy. My marketing team is getting, or my sales team is getting a lot of, bad reviews from my customers.
So holistic.
Correct. So they understand where they sit in the whole experience. So to drive cultural change, this is very important, like the same point. It helps employees and partners develop empathy for customers. Now they understand, oh, me not doing this is going to, or me doing this faster is going to help my customers ultimately. Because till then, somebody like sitting in legal or IT team for bigger organization, I'm just giving computers or fixing computer problems for my employees. How does it change things for my customers? But there is an impact that has, right? Current state blueprint also gives you, it also helps employees, partners discover their own roles in delivering the customer experience. Then they understand that, oh, this is my role in the overall customer experience. Teams and organizations or departments that are irrelevant, they never talk to the customers. But when they do that, when they see this journey map, then they understand the role they play. Okay. It also transforms the way businesses work. Future state blueprints or journey blueprints identify the infrastructure and capabilities needed to deliver on your vision of the future customer experience. Then they understand, okay, now we need to change our ERP system, for example, or the ERP system is fine. From changing to Oracle to SAP is not going to make any difference. The problem is with the implementation, or problem is with this particular step that we have in the overall blueprint. Current state journey map for businesses work, realign your organization structure around customer journeys. For example, as I said, in TCOM's case, we removed the whole provisional approval process. The whole structure was built around that. We removed that. After that, their call center calls also reduced, because people were not calling to, I have a provisional thing, so what can I do? No, you cannot do anything because it's not needed. The whole concept of provisional license was not needed. So if you are going to facilitate a customer journey mapping workshop within your organization, within your team, these are the things that you need to keep in mind. Decide on the objective. Why do you want to create this blueprint, customer map, whatever you want to call it, future state, current state? Why do you want to create it? So set the objectives, select the type of journey map and keep it simple. Don't, like in terms of templates and things, you saw those ones, pick one. Collaborate outside your silo. So if you are in a product team, go get your marketing team involved, go get your management involved, go get your customer service team involved. You are able to get different perspectives to prepare that map. Involve users to either validate or invalidate, because many times, as I said, sitting in boardrooms, you may not have the right perspective. Your customers will give you that. And because the biggest thing is, be careful with what you input to have a better output, because as they say, garbage in bottle.
So the slide before this was the slide where we need to keep these objectives in mind before starting.
Yes, like why do you want to create a journey map? Where is your product right now? What is the stage that you are at? Correct. So that's it. Thank you.
Like if we are a small team and we want to do that, how do we get it done?
Ideally, yes, you should do it yourself if you're a small team. I wouldn't, like, for example, the organization that we spoke about, we work with RTA,